Hello, what's that? You want to hear about what music means to me? Oh, not really? Well, I'm going to tell you anyways. It's been a while since I've done one of these vlog videos. I wanted to get into music and what it means to me. Before I start, I want to let you know that I'd really appreciate any sort of comments, or especially a video response about what music means to you in response to this video. I'm going to tell you my story with the aid of a timeline. Yeah, with the aid of a timeline. If you haven't seen any of my TCK videos before, when I was 7 years old, my family moved to Thailand, and I lived in Thailand for 4 consecutive years before moving back to Canada, where we stayed for 1 year before moving to Malaysia for myself, and then back to Thailand. And whoa, music. What does it mean to me? Well, let's go back to when I was about 6, 7-ish, when I first started to have my first memory. I think my first exposure that I remember to music was church and Saturday morning cartoons. So church, as you can imagine, probably showed me how music could affect emotions. Perhaps I didn't cognitively realize that at the time, but probably got into my head that, hey, music can make people feel. And I don't like to be critical of the church, but perhaps some churches have realized this and have used this to not so much create people's emotions out of their own will, but to sort of manipulate people's emotions. I think music can be used when I hear certain songs being played over and over again, the sad ones, and obviously, you know, there's those people who are just, oh, I'm crying because this song makes me so sad. Actually, you know, they might not even realize it, but it's the music, how much it affects them, how much it affects us. Music has a huge effect on emotions. Now, I've been reading up a little bit on music and people, and apparently there's some people, very small percentage of people in the world, are really excited about music. They are making it, they're listening to it every day. I don't know, if I can remember correctly, there's about 10%, only 10% of the world are really, you know, well informed about music and, you know, stay up to date. I'm perhaps, you know, I'm on the edge, bottom edge of that. I'm not really at the top. I kind of stick to the old bands that I've liked for a long time, and I don't really explore too many, you know, sides of music, except when it comes to my own creation. Music is a huge part of my life, not so much in the listening sense, although I still listen to music a lot, but more so in the sense that I'm creating music and that it's become such a huge part of my life. Perhaps you can tell me, you know, where you fit in the music side. A current study that I recently read about says that 74% of Americans listen to music on the radio on a daily basis. And I think also 72% of Americans said that they listen to music on their computer. That's one of the things I've been trying to do actually musically, is to try to find an audience online. As for cartoons and music, I think cartoons perhaps showed me how music could be fun. My favorites were probably DuckTales. Airplanes here in Duckburg might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Woo. That was really bad. Or the Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles in a shell. Battle power. So yeah, early exposure, creating emotion in the church, and cartoons. So we move ahead to moving into Thailand. I learned about the concept of an artist, a music artist, a band or group, from my father. He had briefcases full of cassette tapes that had music, and I would sometimes go through them looking for some music that I would enjoy. Most of it was adult music. You know, when you're a kid, you like listening to kid music. But my father did have one artist that had one album that, you know, appealed to me. That was Carmen. And he did fun pop music with different elements to it. He gladly labeled himself as a Christian artist and was Christian music. At this time, I didn't realize there was a distinction between Christian music and which we call today secular music. I think I also got into DC Talk sometime when I was about 10 years old. I loved the DC Talk style. You know, at the time I didn't really have much exposure. Once we moved to Thailand, basically any exposure with pop music or music world in North America was cut off. It was the traditional Thai music, which I hated back then, or my father's tapes. Okay, we're going to move ahead to when I was 11 years old and we moved back to Canada. A lot of people don't understand this, but reintegration into your home country is very tough. I learned a lot about, you know, stuff just from the public school system. Boy, oh boy, was I different from them. I think I touched on this once before. I don't really need to go there except to say that I was finally exposed to secular music here at this age. Although very limited, I think I managed to go to a couple parties, like birthday parties and one end of year party, where secular music was being played. And this was the time when I was first exposed to Weird Al Yankovic, which, you know, I was still being a kid. I found that excellent, I found that really funny, but then it was him who actually introduced me to pop music. I was like, these aren't his songs? He didn't write these songs? And, you know, I didn't know that. I learned that he actually took other people's songs and created his own lyrics for them. I would go and look for the original version too. You know, I had a Walkman that time. The Walkman was kind of a way for me to, because we traveled a lot, and it was great to have a Walkman in the car. I would listen to music, and it would, you know, affect me emotionally while I was listening to it. And it would sort of create this world apart from the world I was in, kind of like my own world. I don't know, I felt kind of safe. I felt like if I didn't like what was going on out there, I could just crawl into my own music world. Some nights when I like to listen to the Q101 radio station to listen to hockey games, and I would listen to the announcer announcing the game on the radio. After the game ended, I would continue listening sometimes, and then there would be rock music on the radio, and some of the tunes just I was like, whoa, what is this? You know, it was like a moment of discovery. Music, crazy, whoa, rock. So I'd jump on the bed and I would dance to it like crazy. I don't think my parents knew anything about that. It was just my own. I felt like somewhere deep inside maybe this was wrong, maybe I shouldn't be listening to this music. Some of it maybe had sexual themes or stuff that sounded kind of evilish. Hell, I wasn't even allowed to watch Care Bears as a kid. So as you can imagine, this kind of gave me a liberating feeling, like freedom. And as you can imagine, the world of music just then starting to open up to me. Still, my knowledge is very minimal. So let's move ahead to the next year, because we only stay in Canada for 1 year. The next year, fly across the ocean, stop in Malaysia. Me and my brother get dropped off at boarding school before my parents fly up to Thailand again. You know, they had me psyched in the beginning. It's like, oh, boarding school's gonna be fun, you're gonna love it. Not. Suck. I hated it. Let it be known, the lot school sucked. I don't know about now, but it sucked. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. I think a lot of times people don't realize, especially teachers, where us kids, whatever you want to call us, we TCKs, which is third culture kids, global nomads, sometimes they're called, you know, how different our situations are from each other and how it's difficult for us to adapt. You know, people say TCKs are good at adapting, but I always had a hard time adapting when I was younger, and still to this day. This boarding school was a very strict Christian boarding school I've talked about before, and we weren't allowed to listen to secular music. The year before that, in Canada also, I wasn't allowed to listen to some Christian music. My parents didn't let me listen to music where they couldn't understand the lyrics, or if the lyrics weren't, you know, overtly Christian. There's this kind of forbidden fruit, and I don't know if you have thought about theories regarding forbidden fruit, but fruit is good, but if you taste forbidden fruit, it tastes twice as good. Although you might be left with a aftertaste that might not be so good, you know, like the guilt maybe, but while you're doing it, because you don't understand, you know, the rule just seems like constriction. There's no sense behind it. It's never truly explained to you in a way that makes sense to you why you can't listen to that, why you can't hear somebody else say the F word when people are saying it all the time in the real world. What's the point of hiding the real world to a kid? Is it going to make them a better person? Hell no. It's going to make them an ignorant person. It's going to make them a person who doesn't question things. A stupid person. Yes, a fool. It would have been wise just to say, hey, Josiah, take a listen to it, you know? Maybe you like it. If you like it, you can make your own decision. You know, give me some responsibility. Let me make my own decisions. Let me choose for myself. But it was at this boarding school where I had my largest musical revelation.